What's up, guys? Brady Figuel here, coming at you with a review of the new Despised Icon record Shadow Work that came out a little over a week ago now on Halloween, Friday, October 31st. Seventh album now from this OG deathcore band, who I will admit, their catalog is not one that I'm really an expert on. They're not a band I've explored all that much, but after this album, I might have to. I think one thing I really like about this band's sound that is kind of somewhat absent from a lot of modern deathcore is that this album really does sound like it's rooted in hardcore and death metal. A lot of modern deathcore to me just sounds like it is so far past any remnants of the hardcore influence, especially that the genre comes from. And I'd say the same about the death metal to an extent also. But this album has both of these genres and subgenres present pretty much throughout the entire time, as well as actually grabbing from other different metal subgenres. Like the track Death of an Artist on this record is one of the most blatant extreme metal influenced tracks on the album. There's some black metal influence on this song, but alongside it, there's still those signature deathcore tropes that you know and love from the genre, like the techie guitar intro with those really discordant melodies. Brings to mind more of like that MySpace era deathcore sound. And the breakdown that hits later in the song hits really hard too. And the song also has two actually really cool come downs later on where the music just drops out and you get these really just menacing, evil melodies. The Apparition is another track on here where alongside those traditional deathcore ideas and tropes, you get some more black metal influence and just black and death influence. The riffs as well in the song are just really groovy. Those intro melodies are just absolutely melancholic in the best way possible. And production-wise, I love how on this song, the bass really cuts through the mix nicely, and it sounds really audible without dominating you with bassiness. And then switching away from the extreme metal influence, you have a track like Over My Dead Body with Matt Honeycutt from Kubla Khan, which fittingly is the most hardcore influenced track on this record. And I should specify, it very much goes for that kind of beatdown hardcore sound. The riffing, very hardcore influence too. I do think the pig squeals, the breeze, are used a little bit excessively on this song. Same with the track Reaper later on, which I know that's kind of the thing with deathcore, especially OG deathcore, but does it really hit as hard when it's done so much in the same song? Aside from that though, which I'll be honest, I'm able to get past that pretty easily. Aside from that, this is still a song I enjoy. The intro track Shadow Work is great, how it just really kicks in right away. The tremolo guitar parts in this song are awesome, and there's this really cool kind of mid-song shift where the track gets just a lot more dissonant all at once, and it provides this really cool transition. There's also a final key change that I thought was a nice touch on this song. I also love the track Corpse Pose. This track just has this really mean, infectious main riff that drives the song and reappears throughout, and it manages to keep continuously evolving throughout. So like you hear this specific riff and this specific idea, but it's done several different times in several different ways. It's one of those riffs that can really drive the song, but it never feels repetitive because it's always kind of switching up and changing a little bit and evolving. The breakdown on this track is fucking awesome. The build up to it is great, and then when you get those like eerie guitar leads floating over it, that just sounds fucking sick. Point being, for now, this album does a phenomenal job of just coming out of the gate swinging with all of these tracks in a row that just fucking crush. But notice how the songs that I have complimented so far are all on the first half of the record. When you keep getting through this album and you're getting through songs like Reaper and In Memoriam and Omen of Misfortune, the filler does creep in a little bit. Omen of Misfortune does bring back those kind of discordant, chaotic intro ideas, but it's just not quite done as effectively as it did on Death of an Artist. And the track ends up being a little bit meandering from there. There's a breakdown in that track that for me just doesn't really feel like it hits that hard. The track Reaper, which features vocalists from Chelsea Grin and Carnifex, is a track that, again, I think it's a little bit excessive in the vocal styles in particular, just all the pig squeals. Some of the vocal cadences, too, almost lean nu metal a little bit, which is a little just out of left field. And my biggest gripe with the song is, why the fuck are the guest vocals so low in the mix? It's so noticeable when you go from the band into the guest feature as far as on the vocal front goes. Like, it's like they go from here to there, the vocals do in the mix. A guest vocalist section on a song is supposed to be like the most exciting part of the song, so it just doesn't make sense to me. In Memoriam is fine. It's I do like the message on display here, but it's just a little bit conflicting in its mood because you get those really like twinkly, dramatic strings and piano in the intro, and then that really dark, mean guitar melody cuts through it, and it feels a little bit sparse, I guess, or a little bit robotic, where it just feels like there's different things going on and it's trying to be forced together. The song again, it doesn't have as much energy as other cuts on here. It's a little bit sluggish. There's also the track ContreCoeur, if I pronounced that right. This song, the lyrics are in a different language, which is fine. The only thing is the track is so short, I find that it just doesn't add much to the record, especially because the ideas used in this song that are a bit more straight-up hardcore influenced. They've been present already on this record at this point. This is the second to last song, so having just this really short song that already has some ideas that were presented, with the exception of the song being a different language, obviously, I don't know, I guess it just maybe feels a little unnecessary. Like an easy track that the band probably could have just snipped off the record and you wouldn't really notice. So there's nothing bad on this bottom half of the record. It's just noticeably weaker than the top half. Although I will say the track Obsessive Compulsive Disaster, which is a cool title, is definitely a song that helped me through that second half quite a bit. Maybe the most straight up deathcore song on this record. You hear it right away in the intro, and the vocal trade-off going on between both vocalists is a really cool part. The chorus is a bit more hardcore influenced. You get this really groovy pre-chorus riff that I think is awesome, and some more tremolo riffing too. Definitely one of the highlights, especially on the second half of the record. And the Closer Fallen ones also is fucking sick. Lots of infectious, groovy riffing on this song, which to me is just like blatant Pantera worship, which it's pretty awesome to hear. You can especially hear it in the lead guitar work with those dive bombs, and even the riffing itself, which almost does, you get that one riff in particular that almost does sound like it echoes the main riff in Cemetery Gates with those pinch harmonics. There's a sick fucking tremolo riff that comes in just after like the second time that Pantera riff comes around, with just some really mean melodies I think is great. And then the outro of this song is awesome. You get some acoustic guitar that kind of comes out of nowhere, but it actually just works really well. They almost play these exotic melodies and they complement the heavier distorted guitars, and the album kind of just like ominously fades out. It was a really cool way to end the album, I will say. The chorus of that song too, I will sing aloud, just super fucking powerful, and I love those really ominous guitar melodies yet again. So there's definitely a lot to love on this record. Any fans of this band, any deathcore fans, especially OG early deathcore, you will eat this album up. The vocals on this album were great. I love both vocalists' different styles and how they complement each other and work alongside each other to make these songs so memorable. Going off of that, I think the record is produced really well too. It definitely does have that classic deathcore feel and that dryness that also comes with a lot of hardcore, but it feels modern at the same time. Once again, I really appreciate how this record does stay very grounded in the true foundations of deathcore, having the hardcore influence and having the death metal influence. Some of the coolest moments on the entire record were when the band reached a little bit into that Black and Death vibe a little bit, like I said, on tracks like Apparition and Death of an Artist. My criticisms really just boil down to a few filler tracks like I mentioned, and also just the fact that they're all in a row, so it weighs down the second half of the record. And then a few tracks just being maybe a little bit excessive with the vocals and just like a little bit over the top. But overall, this is a really good record. And I'm definitely going to be listening back on this band's back catalog now, because I can imagine that this probably isn't their best record ever, given that they have 7 albums now. So if you're a fan of this band, comment below what you think the best record for me to get started with them is, obviously aside from this one. This album gets a 25 out of 30 for me. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, if you're a fan of this band, comment below also what your thoughts are on this record. Remember to hit subscribe for more rock and metal-related content. Check out the description for all my links. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace.